Hold on a second. Okay. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Double A Team live stream. I'm your host, Stephen Nagishi. Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us once again on this Championship Sunday. My co-host, as always, is from the Awful Announcing website. It is the associate editor and now has his own Substack going on. It is Ken Fang. Ken, good evening. How are you tonight?
Good. How are you, Stephen? Good to be on with you. I'm just making sure that we have this live stream up on Blue Sky, which I just put up on the Fangs Bites up there,
Okay.
and also it's nice to see that we're live on X as well. So thank you for all of you who are joining us right now. We are live. And we are ready to go. Also, I just want to let you know a little bit later on, I'll share. I relaunched and renamed the my channel on YouTube where we store these live streams where you can find them,
Okay.
and I will show you that and just I'll show you that at the end of the podcast, at the end of the live stream. But let's get
Okay.
to
So it's been revamped then.
yeah, I rebranded it, so but I'll share that with you. But it's still you still find it the same way at Fangs Bites over on YouTube, but I've changed a little bit of a branding on it. So, but I'll show you that a little bit later on.
Well, thank you, Ken, and look forward to the changes in our website. And let's get started. Obviously, Championship Sunday. I apologize. I'm in a hotel just outside of Philadelphia.
Oh,
Yeah, here for work, which begins officially starting tomorrow. But I'm here since um, Wednesday night to kind of support the preparation for the project that I'm involved in. Since Wednesday and then Thursday and Friday is like meetings and also preparations and stuff. So as you can tell, the Eagles here. It's been a dominant story since I came here. I was here in the same area last October as well. It's kind of like a night and day since the conversation we had regarding the Eagles, who destroyed the Washington Commanders 55-23 to win the NFC Championship. And, I took my guest who was here from Japan to Buffalo Wild Wings. And this was his first time, watching the game, NFL of any kind. And then also going to B-Dubs at the same time, which thankfully was only like a 2-minute drive from the hotel just down the street over there. And, we pretty much stayed till the very end of the game, almost like with about maybe 5 minutes left. That was it. So, Ken, give me your thoughts on this game. And let me just start with you. The Eagles just put on an amazing clinic against the Washington team that have been kind of playing on house money the first two games of this playoff.
Yeah, first quick update here on the AFC Championship. Xavier Worthy just caught a touchdown pass, and just right after Buffalo took the lead 10-7, he was able to, Xavier Worthy caught the touchdown pass, jumped into the end zone, extended the ball past the goal line as he was jumping over. Taylor Swift is there. We don't see Caitlin Clark this week. So the Kansas City Chiefs lead right now 14-10 in the second quarter. It looks like a very good game after really at the beginning of this game. Josh Allen was, I think, purposely trying to throw the ball away and trying to throw and get it intercepted by he had a shaky start. But anyway, in regards to the NFC Championship, what happened to Washington last week when they were able to take the ball away from Detroit and really cause the number one seed to upset the number one seed in Detroit? Same thing happened to them. They gave the ball away. They had really some costly turnovers, whether it was on kickoff returns. I mean, Jaden Daniels played as well as he could. I mean, he just still played within himself. I was quite impressed with the way that he made great decisions out there. However, I really have to say that when you fumble the ball on kickoff returns, when you fumble the ball deep in your own territory, you're going to make some big mistakes. And that really cost Washington there. 3 huge turnovers. And I have to say that, I'm really, while Washington, you have to praise them for getting the Commanders getting all the way into the NFC Championship, Stephen. Philadelphia, I think they're ready for this. They were my pick to begin this season. I said I was going to choose the Philadelphia Eagles. I said Philadelphia and Buffalo were going to be my pick to be in the Super Bowl. I'm going to stick right now. I'm going to stick by that because Buffalo and Kansas City are pretty close. So, but I'm going to have to say that Jalen Daniel. I have to say Saquon Barkley, 3 touchdowns today, including the first play from scrimmage, a 60-yard touchdown run. That's something that I got to say, no matter which defense is going to play him, Kansas City or Buffalo in New Orleans in 2 weeks, it's going to be tough to stop him. Okay, they've got to find at least a way to stop him. You cannot just try to arm tackle Saquon Barkley. You have to hit him down low, and even if you try to hit him down low, you may bounce off. So you have to find a way. And Washington could not stop him. He ran for 118 yards today. He had a hat trick and touchdowns. And the New York Giants just continued to kick themselves for letting this man go. And we all saw it on the offseason version of Hard Knocks right before the season, Stephen.
Yeah.
Here's a guy. He didn't have a great offensive line in New York with the Giants. He has a great offensive line in Philadelphia. And this is he was really my pick for MVP. I have to say, I would have loved to see him win MVP. And I think had he played the Week 17 game or the Week 18 game, he might have gotten it had he broken the record for the single season rushing record. But hey, give Philadelphia credit. They made the plays when they needed to. They made the plays. They made the plays on defense when they needed to as well. They didn't have much of a pass rush against Jalen Daniels, but they made the sacks when they needed to at the most opportune times. So give him credit. And Philadelphia is heading over to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to be underdogs to Kansas City if the Chiefs win. They may be slight favorites over the Buffalo Bills if the Bills advance. So we'll see what happens at the end of tonight, Stephen.
Yeah, Washington got off to a real good start. Controlling the ball for 18 plays on their opening drive, taking up almost half of the clock in the first quarter, and then the Eagles scored on their very first play from scrimmage, and you mentioned Saquon scored on a 60-yard run. Last time I was here in the Philadelphia area, I think we discussed a little bit about the Eagles narrowly beating your Cleveland Browns back in September, October, or whenever it was, and. I remember Nick Sirianni, the Eagles coach, took a lot of heat because,
Right.
the game was very, very poor from the Eagles' perspective. And then at the end of the game, he brought his own 2 sons, I believe, onto the press conference. And people were up in arms because he thought that, Sirianni used his son as some sort of a human shield to, deflect criticism.
Right.
It was a legitimate talk, and I think your website even posted something about that.
Right.
His son being involved in the press conferences. So people out here have been very, very critical of Sirianni, and for good reasons. The offense. This Eagles team is not an offensive juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, they got talent. They have they rely a lot on Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts certainly makes plays when he needs to with his legs more so than his arm. But today. AJ Brown, who got a lot of flack and got attention for reading a book on the sideline against the Eagles on the wild card weekend, was sensational. Playing with more enthusiasm and getting the balls, catching the balls when it was needed. scored a critical touchdown toward the end of the second quarter near halftime after the Washington Commanders fumbled on the kickoff that led to that touchdown. It was a total team effort, but again, like I said, this is not an offensive juggernaut team by any stretch of the imagination. This team is a very strong, a defensive team led by Vic Fangio in his first year, made tremendous stride defensively this past year. With the addition, of course, of Fangio, they added two rookies, Quinion Mitchell and then Cooper DeJean, I think, in the top first two rounds of the draft to bolster the secondary. Jalen Carter in his second year really emerged, really eating up, blockers and then playing tremendously as a run stuffer and also pressuring from interior position tremendously. Zach Baum, the free agent signee from New Orleans, mostly known as a backup and a special teamer, really became a defensive player of the year candidate, like being used all over the field as a rusher, a guy who can cover, as a linebacker, et cetera. Just a tremendous player, had a nice fumble recovery earlier in the third quarter, I believe, when Austin Eckler had his ball punched out and, Baum recovered the ball. So, Washington, listen, they took advantage of the turnovers against the Lions in their upset win. Today, all those three turnovers, all of them fumbles, by the way, led to 3 touchdowns. So that was a huge difference. That's a 21-point difference. The game was 27-15 at halftime. It was very close, 31-23 at one point. And then just they had a self-infliction with the turnovers, and then the one of the next to last touchdowns where Frankie Louvu committed 3 consecutive offside penalties where he tried to jump
offside.
Offside, tried to stop the
push.
Right. And then it was so egregious that the referee announced that they're going to announced that they're going to score. They're going to make a decision to score a points or award a point to Philadelphia if the penalty becomes so egregious or something like that. Believe it or not. And from there, the Eagles just scored on the tush push, and then the game was pretty much over at that point. If you think about it.
They were going to call that a palpably unfair act. That's what Mike Pereira was going to call. I never thought I would ever hear a palpably unfair act. And Sean Hockley did announce the fact that the Philadelphia would be awarded a touchdown if Washington was going to continually, on purpose, cause offside to try and time to stop the tush push. But and credit Mike Pereira for saying that. He said that Philadelphia would be awarded a touchdown if this continued, and Sean Hockley made that announcement right after that. But I never thought I would hear a palpably unfair act. That really sounds like legalese, but Mike Pereira just certainly knows his rules. That's why he's a rules analyst on Fox, does a great job. I wouldn't be surprised if more teams don't try at least one jump to try to stop that tush push, unless it's deemed illegal by the NFL. But as long as it's legal, there's you try and find ways to stop it. And Louvu tried to jump over.
Exactly. I never knew that the referee can actually award a points in these circumstances. Shockingly,
right. But I guess it was funny because you kept seeing the ball moved closer and closer to the goal line, half the distance, and it was basically touching the goal line until they finally, until Jalen Hurts finally got in on that very last play. But it was kind of funny. Louvu, I think he jumped 3 times, and then there was a play in which the line jumped offside to try and stop the tush push. But really, a kind of a funny play, kind of a funny moment there in the NFC Championship, a moment that went viral, especially when Mike Pereira calls it a palpably unfair act. So I think we may get prop bets to see if the referees will try to call a palpably unfair act during the Super Bowl. Now that Philadelphia is into the big game.
Yeah, I'm watching the TV here locally, and with the exception of ABC and CBS, NBC and Fox is covering the basically the Eagles winning the title. Fans are out in full force right now. Basically,
I'm
in
sure.
Broad Street. Obviously the name that's known for Broad Street Bullies, the old Flyers, NHL Flyers team that was so dominant in the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So far, I'm not seeing any massive, breakouts or fights or any violence of that nature so far. But as night goes on, you never know what will happen. But it seems as though so far, it's police locally. They had their game plan ready, and they are ready whenever something crazy happens. I think they may have already greased the poles. Yeah, like we've seen in the past when the Eagles have won the Super Bowl back in 2018 and stuff. But I see some fans right now climbing onto whatever the hell that is. Massive number of people climbing up, and in the City Hall area of Philadelphia near Broad Street, police are just basically standing between themselves and the fans with their shields on. Some of them are trying very close, and the Eagles really, really wanted this for a long time. They've been to the championships twice in 3 years. 2 years ago they beat the San Francisco to get to the Super Bowl, where they fell to the Kansas City Chiefs. And whoever they face, obviously, again, like I said, this is going to be a tough out for any AFC opponents. I think this is going to be Eagles are, I think, fairly good matchups for whoever comes out. As long as Vic Fangio's calling the defense, and this is going to be a good matchup. I think the Eagles are just basically right now chilling, celebrating and watching this game like you and I are. AFC Championships right now, and I think a lot of people right now all over America are kind of fatigued about the Chiefs. Basically, Travis Kelce / Taylor Swift relationship. Pat Mahomes getting the favorable calls from the officials. And
another favorable call for Kansas City. Looked like there was an interception by Buffalo, but then it was ruled on the field a 26-yard completion for Kansas City. Buffalo challenged it, and it was ruled for Kansas City. So here's another instance where it looked like there was a first interception, but now instead it was ruled a completion. And right now Kansas City is on the 4-yard line with a chance to score with a chance to score another touchdown before the halftime. 2:47 left to go in the second half. So
second quarter,
and the second quarter, right? So they're at the 4-yard line, and I can't do play-by-play yet. Right now, there's a run that takes them to the 2-yard line. So
shovel pass to the 2-yard line. This is 3rd and goal right now.
Yeah, 3rd and goal. So let's talk about the NFL coaching situation. Very bizarre situation what happened in Jacksonville, Stephen. Very bizarre because you go ahead and go into it. I came to it a little bit cold, but I heard a little bit more about it this morning. Ian Rappaport talked about it, how the fact that Tampa Bay could not find for a while. Their coach was missing, and then eventually he signed with Jacksonville. Very strange situation.
Yeah, it's a questionable decision by Cohen himself. I think he originally turned it down, which subsequently led to the firing of Trent Baalke, which I never understood how in the world he even kept the job in the first place after the season was over. And then Shad Khan finally decided to fire, Baalke, realizing that nobody wants to work with this snake salesman who has somehow had the job for forever.
Yeah.
He was fired in San Francisco after he ran Jim Harbaugh out of town.
He led to John Lynch coming in there.
Yeah, that was followed by Jim Tomsula and Chip Kelly, both coaches fired all within their first year, and Balky was ran out of town. And then Balky had a terrible time in Jacksonville where they only won. They only had one winning season. That was 2021. That they won the division. They beat the LA Chargers after Chargers blew, I think, a 30-3 lead or whatever. Yeah. And then from there, they have never been able to get over the hump at all. And then now you have a guy like Liam Cohen who fired. Not fired, but who said no, and then now changed his mind, and then people were accusing him using his own children as some sort of a a shield because his children was sick and didn't answer any calls from Tampa Bay, and now he's answering. Now he ended up taking the a Jacksonville job, and I got to tell you, this is a somewhat disingenuous look on Cohen, who doesn't have a lot of experience calling plays in the NFL. I believe this was his very first year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was before that he was at University of Kentucky, and then he was with the LA Rams as an assistant with Sean McVay's staff, so forth. This is going to be very interesting. He had, the Bucs had a decent year after Drew Canales left Tampa Bay to become a head coach at Carolina Panthers. And now Tampa Bay is looking for a new OC again. And it's going to be very interesting. Like, for example, they could have fired Todd Bowles and then kept Liam Cohen. But Tampa Bay decided to, keep Bowles, and now they have to hunt for another offensive coordinator again.
Yeah, it's really strange.
It's really strange nowadays. You want to keep offensive coordinator as a head coach and then allow him to play calls, because obviously that would help with the continuity in this day and age where offense rules the NFL so much. But the way Liam Cohen chose to do business with Tampa Bay Buccaneers certainly does not reflect well not only on Cohen but also on Jacksonville Jaguars as well, because of how long they've kept Trent Baalke.
I mean, it was very strange. Cohen apparently was holed up in Jacksonville while they negotiated a contract. And as we mentioned, Tampa Bay could not get a hold of him because he had already committed to them. He said, "I will stay with you, don't worry." But then they couldn't find him. As Ian Rappaport said, that's because that Cohen was in Jacksonville, holed up in their offices to negotiate a contract. Now, this kind of reeks of Bobby Petrino, if you remember. He's in Louisville, going to Arkansas, then refusing to
Atlanta Falcons and
being with the Falcons, and basically not manning up to doing anything, and just basically running over to the first job that he would see. Kind of being like a football version of Rick Pitino, who would doing the same thing with Providence, and then Kentucky, and then Boston, and all these. It's just ridiculous. So I don't know what is going to come of this. Jacksonville is a circus. I'm not sure. I mean, they had Doug Peterson there, who won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia, but Peterson was basically handcuffed with all the bad decisions that was made by the front office and by Baalke. So I have to say that right now, to be honest with you, I wouldn't know if Jacksonville is I know people say, well, Jacksonville has a lot of cap space. They have Trevor Lawrence, but I'm not sure if Lawrence is a bona fide NFL quarterback. He hasn't yet to prove that. So we have to see what's going on over there. But I'll be honest with you, Liam Cohen. I don't know I don't really know if he's NFL head coaching material. Jacksonville thinks so. The Khan family thinks so. We'll just have to wait and see on that one, Steven. It's just a bizarre situation. And your Bears I have to say that your Bears, the Chicago Bears, not the Chicago Bears, but I'll correct that. They hired Ben Johnson. You got your guy, Ben Johnson, who I'm sure you're very happy with. Johnson is a guy that was highly he was highly pursued over the last couple of seasons. Stayed with the Detroit last year, but now came back, and now he's with the Chicago Bears. I thought that he might not go into the same division as the Lions, but here he is. He's going to be coaching against his former team, Detroit, twice a year, every year. So I'm sure that you're quite happy with the news.
Oh yeah. Listen, Johnson was hired 2 days after the Lions got eliminated from the divisional playoffs in their upset loss against the Washington Commanders, and it is amazing. The Bears were able to land Ben Johnson after just one single interview. This is basically just one single interview that they did. And, Ben Johnson wanted this job so much. And, he made it clear. He's somebody who's been to Chicago almost every summer since youth, followed the Cubs on WGN, went to see the Cubs game almost every summer, been to Chicago almost every year with his wife. This is somebody that really wanted this job, and I'm really, really excited that Ben Johnson came to Chicago. The way he introduced himself in the press conference was simply stunning. Just oozes so much charisma. The way he handled himself was simply incredible. Had a nice candor. I'm going to play some video here that was posted by Kevin Fishbane of The Athletic. This was when Ben Johnson was introduced inside Halas Hall. Take a listen.
Everyone get back to work. Listen, thank you so much. My family and I, we are beyond excited.
You can do that full screen, Steven.
This is where we wanted to be.
Okay.
It's exactly where we wanted to be. This is going to be a challenge. I am well aware of that. I know what this division's about. And this is exactly where we want to be. We're going to go after this thing, and it's going to take all of us in this room. It's going to take this locker room. It's nothing more important than that locker room and us serving that locker room and those players. All right? They need to understand that. They need to feel that from us every single day. And if we do that, the wins are going to come. The playoffs are going to come. All right? Can't wait to get to know you guys. And thank you so much for the warm welcome. Thank you.
So I think the man who is really relieved, the man that was walking behind Johnson, that was the general manager Ryan Pauls, who, contrary to what everybody was saying all over the internet, Twitter, X, that Johnson wanted his own personnel people. He wanted to bring his own guys. It's kind of like similar ordeal with Kyle Shanahan hiring or being paired with John Lynch from Fox Sports. The Buffalo Bills, which obviously is playing right now, was paired with general manager Brandon Beam, excuse me. Mm-hmm. The both two men had obviously worked together with down in Carolina with the Panthers as well. So it's unusual normally that the coaches get to pick the general manager because it's usually the opposite of it. But contrary to what everybody was saying, that was being leaked out there. It was originally thought that Ben Johnson wanted Jacksonville job because obviously there's no taxes, et cetera, et cetera. which turned out to be false. And then it was later that Las Vegas Raiders were slam dunk because Tom Brady was skewering the rules by doing the Lions Commanders game and of course interviewing Johnson on the field, etc. But thankfully that was never true at all. And then Johnson really wanted this job so bad that he only had one interview and did not even meet team president Kevin Warren, general manager Ryan Poles, team chairman George McCaskey on site. It was crazy because my friend Rashab Shakiri and somebody else that he also does the Bears stuff, they were actually doing the Ben Johnson plane watch, where there was a rumor that Ben Johnson was actually flying in from Pontiac Airport, which is like a private jet airport outside of Detroit. And then they were doing live stream about, Ben Johnson arrival. And they were actually waiting for the plane to arrive. But then Adam Schefter broke the news saying that, Ben Johnson is going to be the next head coach. But, of course, that was well before Josina Anderson was kind of hinting that he was going to take the job. So it kind of goes to, show that, whatever you're seeing on Twitter or X it's full of, crap. And then, we get, so caught up in it, as a Bears fan, a long time frustrated one. I was kind of settling for, maybe the Bears are going to settle for hiring somebody like, Mike McCarthy, Brian Flores, or, if not, I would have liked to see Todd Monken, the OC with the Ravens, but, he's a little bit older side at 59 or close to 60 years old. So I give credit for the Bears considering their recent history. That's kind of like still living on the nostalgia of the 85 Bears Super Bowl season to this day. They swung a home run. They went for it and they got it. What happens now is obviously important for Ryan Poles and the Bears. They must work together to put together a team that is, competitive. Listen, it doesn't help that the Washington came close to, going to the Super Bowl before a blowout today. But if the Bears are serious and if they can improve their trenches, offensive line and defensive line, offensive line in particular, I don't see why not that the Bears can win 11 or 12 games and maybe get into the playoffs, depending on what the other NFC teams, NFC North teams does. Obviously with Detroit losing both coordinators, we'll get to the Aaron Glenn situation in a minute. But, the Lions fans are freaking out because, both coaches are leaving and they're angry and upset, up in arms about it. Listen, this is what happens when you have a, price to pay for success. Okay. Both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are successful coordinators, and they deserve every right to seek better opportunities, better pays. And I think, because myself, I don't want to talk about the Lions fans in any negative shape or form, but because the Lions fans haven't experienced a lot of success, when the coaches leave, they get really, really upset for some reason, which is kind of funny because, you and I, obviously, we've been in the similar situation in a different industry. Ken, we have a better opportunity, for advancement, better pay and stuff like that. You would go for it, right?
Right. And the thing is that this has happened to other successful teams too. It happened with the Patriots. As I mentioned last week, they lost Charlie Weiss and Romeo Crennel after the 2003 Super Bowl. After they won, Bill Belichick lost them. He then had to adjust. All teams have to do this, so it's not it's not unique to the Lions. It's not going to be the first time it happens to a team. It's not going to be the last time. My only pet peeve is that instead of this, extend the coaching interviews a little bit later. I would say after the playoffs instead of during the playoffs. I know that the situation is that you try to get a coach in right away. It's kind of like the transfer portal in the college football. Don't have the college transfer portal during bowl season when key players could leave. I would extend this. Amy Trask has said this in the past, and I agree with her. But you know what? Look, the rules are the rules. give credit to the fact that the Bears jumped on getting the most qualified, probably of all the candidates out there right now. Besides some Mike McCarthy. But I would have to say, if you're going to get a coordinator and a guy who could possibly bring a great culture change to Chicago, which desperately needs it, get a guy from and granted, it's from your division rival, but their success there. They were the number one seed in the division in all of the NFC. They have a quick rise to the top of the division. So why not bring someone from your rival and possibly change the culture, which desperately needed inside of Hallis Hall? And Ben Johnson is that guy, and I think he's going to be very successful.
I totally agree. And he chose the Bears more so than the Bears chose him.
Right.
Again, the considering the dubious history of the Bears recently, I think that is an incredible job that the Bears were able to convince a young, smart coach like Ben Johnson to take the job, more so than anybody else. Now let's move on to another Lions coordinator who took the job. The Jets bring in Lions DC Aaron Glenn. Now this is not a real surprise, Ken, because Glenn was a former NFL player, a very decent player back in the day. He was actually drafted by, if I'm not mistaken, by the New York Jets back in 1994 in the first round. He's a first rounder by the Jets out of Texas A&M. So he played for the Jets and he knows the culture very, very well. And it's a culture that has completely been decimated by injuries,
played under Bill
ownership. Right. Outside of when Bill Parcells was there, and then a few years of Rex Ryan, it's just been and then also a couple of good years with when Herm Edwards there here and there. It's been a very, very a terribly ran organization. Woody Johnson bought the team, and then there have been a lot of unflattering things that was said late last year about his son, running the team and being in a draft room, et cetera, et cetera. The relationship, obviously, with Aaron Rodgers has kind of strained to a point where it looks as though they're heading for an inevitable divorce right now. And, I wish Aaron Glenn nothing but the best. They just also hired a new general manager too, Brandon Morgay, who I believe is the name of the gentleman, who is the Denver Broncos assistant GM, being paired with Aaron Glenn. Obviously, it's not a matchup that neither man, I don't think, has any connections or past histories with. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting matchup, but first and foremost, the Jets have to figure out what they want to do with their quarterback in a draft that is a very, very bad in terms of quarterback outside of Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Ken.
Yeah, and there is talk that Glenn may even keep. May want to keep Aaron Rodgers for one more year. He is still under contract. Don't forget. He still could be a stopgap measure for the Jets, even if they don't hire a quarterback or draft a quarterback this season. Aaron Glenn is a guy who said he's open to it, so we'll have to see what happens. He's saying all the right things, though. Aaron Glenn is a great coach. We saw what he did in Detroit. Granted, they couldn't stop Washington in the divisional playoffs, but a lot of that had to do, I have to say, that with a lot of the injuries that they had this season. I'm going to have to say that Glenn can possibly another guy who the Jets definitely needed a culture change. They are a very sad organization, as you mentioned, Stephen. You've got a guy who is just one of the, to me, at least because I live here in New England, I get to see the Jets a couple of times up here because of the Patriots. They're just really a sad organization. They're just, we saw what happened the last couple of seasons with Aaron Rodgers. He got injured in the very first series of the season before against the Buffalo Bills, and then this season he just didn't look like he had any fun. And he's also talking to Pat McAfee about conspiracy theories and talking about going to darkness retreat and all this stuff. Whether they keep Aaron Rodgers or not, but I think that Aaron Glenn is going to bring a much needed culture change. As we mentioned, he's very successful. He's a guy who knows what he's doing. So, as we've mentioned before on the show, the Jets are an organization where coaches go to die. Robert Saleh was treated very poorly, and then he's going to go to the San Francisco 49ers as a defensive coordinator over there. There was talk that he might go to Jacksonville at one point. But I have to say that the Jets, if Aaron Glenn can pull off a culture change and can make the team decent, I know he's going to build a very good defense there, because that's the way he plays and that's the way he coaches. I think he'll build a very good defense there. The whole thing is that he's got to give the keys to a great offensive coordinator. I'm sure he knows people based on his connections and coaching, Stephen. So we'll just have to wait and see on the Jets whether they keep Aaron Rodgers or just completely decide to blow up the team. I think it's a good move, though. Glenn is a good coach, and we'll see if he is head coaching material, especially this upcoming season.
Yeah, he needs time. He needs, I hope the Jets ownership, which is obviously not known for being patient and being smart, I hope they give him a decent chance and make sure that he gets the support he needs, obviously. And then the Raiders hired ageless wonder Pete Carroll, who is 74 years old. A year after he was ceremoniously let go by Seattle Seahawks. He is back into coaching. Signed a 3-year contract with the Raiders. Obviously, it's a huge downgrade where the Raiders fans were expecting Ben Johnson and then ended up settling for Pete Carroll. I think he's going to be a fine. Yeah, I'll say as a stopgap for 3 years or maybe 4 years. Ken, what do you think?
Well, first of all, just got an alert, Stephen, that the Bears have hired
Dennis Allen, yes.
Coaching failure, Dennis Allen, a guy who has been the Raiders. Amy Trask does not like him. We saw him with a huge, horrible coaching job with the New Orleans Saints. But as a defensive coordinator, perhaps not having to have the keys to the entire club. Yeah. Perhaps he can just get the job done as a defensive coordinator. We'll have to wait and see. But that just broke just now. The Bears, as you see there, have hired Dennis Allen. He is
and then Declan Boyle as the offensive coordinator, which obviously in this case, OC is not a huge job because Ben Johnson is the one who's going to be calling plays himself. OC is just basically a title itself, but I've never heard of Declan Boyle. Only connection is obviously he was a Titans coach down in New Orleans under Sean Payton, but also he has connections with Dan Campbell as well. When Campbell was a Saints assistant as well under Sean Payton, believe it or not. So he went to Denver. Denver's tight end this past year didn't have a real good of a season. Obviously, a bit of a talent gap. I was kind of more intrigued by, they were interviewing David Shaw, who had a terrific career with Stanford, working with, among other quarterbacks. The most notable one, of course, is Andrew Luck. And when Stanford was really, really good back in the day, of course. But, unfortunately, David Shaw, who interviewed for the head coaching job, also interviewed for the OC job. Really thought I was, maybe they're going to bring him under some title, but I guess he chose to, Bears decided to go in a different direction. But, again, OC is not a huge indictment. Again, Ben Johnson's the one calling the plays. But, Dennis Allen, I think, is a fine defensive coordinator. I think some coaches, unfortunately, when you fail at 2 other stops as a head coach, there's no opportunities for you as a third time. Rarely does happen. So I think it's safe to say Dennis Allen's going to be more than likely a career coordinator moving forward. And I think based on his past experience, being a DC with the Saints and also the Raiders, I think this is a decent hire. So let's get back into what we were discussing about Pete Carroll. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah. So I think that it's going to be a good move by again, another culture change is needed. Pete Carroll is a teacher. He is a very good coach. We've seen him what he's done in defenses, especially as a defensive coordinator, and also what he's built in USC. Granted, the Reggie Bush whole situation wasn't the best, but he's won championships. He won a championship at USC. He won a Super Bowl in Seattle. Could have won a second had he not decided to make a really stupid move against the New England Patriots and not give the ball to Marshawn Lynch. But I'm still not bitter about that game. I'm still not angry about that game because I didn't want. I still hear from Patriots fans in regards to that stupid decision. But anyway, I think that Pete Carroll is a winner. And granted, he fell victim of trying to making a trade, which unfortunately he got the blame for when he traded away Russell Wilson. And the Seattle Seahawks had to transition to a different quarterback, who are now having a much better situation now. But I think that, to be honest with you, Pete Carroll, I think, can be a winner and can build something there. He's going to be a stopgap. There's no doubt about that. He's going to be a stopgap for 3 years until Tom Brady can find the actual coach that he wants. So, and Tom Brady is running the show there. We all know that, even though he's announcing games, which is a complete conflict of interest, should not be allowed to. But I'll say this: I think it's a good move to bring in Pete Carroll. He wants to coach. I mean, Bill Belichick, he was trying to get jobs. Unfortunately, I think he burned too many bridges in the NFL. So, but Pete Carroll has not, and he's able to get this job with the Raiders. And I think I wouldn't be surprised to see the Raiders go 9-8 next season, maybe 10 wins the following year, and maybe 10-12. They're not gonna win that division as long as Kansas City is there, but they can show really big improvement with Pete Carroll there, and I think he can do something over there and work with that team, and especially with their defense, which is much needed over there. That defense is absolutely horrible over there, Steven. And he can also, if he gets a decent quarterback over the next few years, I think that he could leave that team in a better shape than when he got it.
Yeah, and then finally the Cowboys threw a massive curveball.
I don't know.
Hiring Brian Schottenheimer. Obviously, is he the son of Marty?
He's the son of Marty. Yeah, he's the son of Marty.
Okay, the son of the late Marty Schottenheimer to be the head coach of the Cowboys following the departure of Mike McCarthy. And I got friends in the DFW area who works in the media. Shout out to Ben Rogers and Jeff Skin Wade there. The fans down there have suffered enough, and they got a real slow start in the coaching search because they were kind of wishy-washy about the future of Mike McCarthy. Mm-hmm. They ceremoniously, let the contract expired and then decided not to bring him back. They also turned down a interview request with the Bears several weeks ago, and everything that what the Cowboys are doing down there in Dallas is so bizarre. Obviously, because of the one Jerry Jones, who just seems to get himself out of the way. He always has to be the center of the attention, even as his ripe age. And to be honest, Ken, I don't want to make a snap judgment just because a coach with a lesser pedigree got hired. But I totally get it why the Cowboys fans aren't really all that inspired. I remember maybe seeing Brian Baldinger, tweeting after the hiring was announced. They're like, "Hey, Cowboys, are you sure about this?" or something like that. So it's a hiring that's kind of a head scratcher, as well as drawing some, one of those shaking my head moment there.
Yeah, I'm going to say this, Stephen. It's rather obvious here that Jerry Jones doesn't want to pay anybody. He doesn't want to pay a coach. He doesn't want to pay. I mean, if he really wanted a real shakeup, I think he could have hired Deion Sanders.
I was going to say that too. Yeah, but they didn't want to pay the buyout with the Colorado Buffaloes, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that the Dallas Cowboys don't have money. It's not that Jerry Jones doesn't have money. It's the fact that he just doesn't want to pay for a coach that could be bigger than his ego. If he paid Deion Sanders, you would see dueling press conferences because Deion is a Type A personality, and Jerry Jones is a Type A personality. In this case, he hires a coach, Brian Schottenheimer, who's a known assistant, who has. I don't think he's had. I don't. If I'm trying to search my memory banks. I don't think he's been a head coach anywhere, Stephen. So I have to say that again, he's going to be able to be up here on the top level, and Brian Schottenheimer is going to be somewhere here. Okay, he's not a personality. He's not known for having a personality. He's not a Type A personality. So the last Type A personality that Jimmy Johnson hired was, I hate to say it, was Jimmy Johnson. That's the last person that he hired was a Type A personality, and Jimmy Johnson knew football. And we saw what happened when he built a winner over there. And then, of course, since then he's hired puppets. Actually, Bill
exceptional, Bill Parcells.
Bill Parcells, I forgot about Parcells. But he hasn't really done anything to have someone who is bigger than him. He could have hired Bill Belichick. He could have hired anybody, but this hire of Brian Schottenheimer just reeks of the fact that Jerry Jones is cheap. He doesn't want to pay, and he doesn't want someone to overtake him on press conferences. Jerry Jones wants to be the guy that the media goes to for quotes before, after, and during games. He wants to be there. And until he eventually leaves the front office, and whatever that's going to be, we don't know, Stephen. I know that he's getting up there in age, but as long as he owns the Cowboys, he's going to be the one guy that's still going to be the general manager. So it's a strange situation, Stephen. But I got to say that this hire is it's typical Jerry. It's typical Jerry Jones, and he's not going to budge. And now, this could actually work out, and he wins a championship. It could work. Who knows? Yep. But at this point, right now, it just reeks of the fact that Jerry Jones is cheap. He doesn't want to hire anybody, and he doesn't want a personality that will. He's the ego in the room, and he doesn't want anybody else with an ego bigger than him.
Yeah, that's true. The only job, of course, that's probably left in this cycle is the New Orleans Saints, and at this point, it's anybody guess. It could be Mike McCarthy. Joe Brady of the Bills OC decided to set out this cycle. So it'll be very, very interesting to see, what the Saints do, because, that's an organization that's always kind of skirted on the edge, the salary cap situation. David Carr is not exactly a quarterback that, it's hard to, build anything around these days. So we'll find out maybe after the, or before or after the Super Bowl. Something's going to have to give with the Saints as well. All right, let's wrap up a couple of topics. Starting with the college football championships. Ohio State beat Notre Dame 34-23 to win the national championships to close out the 12-team playoff format that was somewhat, I think, wildly successful and did its job, Ken.
Yeah, I have to say that Notre Dame put a better effort than I thought they would, Stephen.
I know you said 38-3 or something like that before.
Yeah,
right?
They did a much better effort than I thought. You have to say Marcus Freeman, he coached the team quite well. It's just that Ohio State got out too far ahead, and Notre Dame just didn't have enough to catch them. But you look, credit to Ryan Day. He's overcome a lot. He's overcome criticism, even thoughts that he might be fired after this season if he didn't win a national championship after losing to Michigan for the 4th straight year. So give credit to him. He bounced back, and he got. I don't know where this Ohio State team was all year, but it was when it came time to be a complete team. He got the best effort out of Ohio State, and they got the job done. So, but Notre Dame, they still have a long ways to go to compete with like the Big Tens and the SECs. But I have to give credit to Notre Dame. They played better than I thought they did, and they kept it a little bit closer than I thought they did. But overall, Ohio State, the team that played the best throughout the entire college football playoff, won, and they deserve the win.
Absolutely. Let's close out. Well, let's get to the next one. Baseball Hall of Fame class of 2025 announced. It is first-timers Ichiro Suzuki, CC Sabathia, and Billy Wagner on his 10th and final attempt. The big story, of course, is Ichiro not getting the unanimous vote. He missed by 1 vote. At this point, we don't know who the voter who decided to snub or send a message about the baseball writers who they are. It's kind of funny how they seems to operate this way. The only person who ever got a unanimous vote was Mariano Rivera. Almost maybe over a decade ago. Ken, give me your thoughts on this class and the somehow baseball writers always seems to act in this manner that they just can't seem to help themselves.
Well, I don't know what it is, but it's just Mariano Rivera was the first and the only player to get a unanimous vote to the Hall of Fame. It goes back to the very first vote when the first 5 players who got in, like Babe Ruth and Ty Cobb, they weren't unanimous. So there was this silly notion that no player should be unanimous to get in. Ichiro should have been unanimous. It should have been rather obvious. I don't know who that writer is. The writers did say that they wanted to have their ballots made public, but the Hall of Fame said no. So it's only those writers that opt in to make their ballots public. Hopefully we find out who that writer is. There's a rumor that it might be a Cleveland writer who got snubbed by Ichiro a long time ago. We don't know if that's true, but honestly,
we'll know about the voting eventually, right?
Yeah, but I have to say that Ichiro, he was a guy who came into the league, and while he wasn't really well known for
28 years old when he first came here, yes.
Yeah, and he was just a spectacular. He won Rookie of the Year at age 28. It was kind of interesting how people say, "Well, he's not really a rookie; he's an experienced."
Exactly.
Yeah, but the fact is, we're hearing a lot of stories, Stephen, about how Ichiro spoke a lot of very funny English. I mean, he had great stories of swearing and speaking.
It is. Who the hell is Tom Brady story as well,
Exactly. He spoke perfect English to the players. He just didn't speak it to the media. But again, it's one of those situations where a lot of Japanese players don't want to be misquoted or have the translation come out of context. But Ichiro is a very funny man. We see it now. He has a great sense of humor. Loved playing in Seattle. As the fact is that the Japanese community came out to really support him in Seattle. And he was perfect for that town. And the only blemish on the record is that he never got to play in a World Series, Stephen. And it would have loved to have seen that. A great player, a guy who was really he could have. had great defensive arm. The throws that he would make from the outfield to third base for outs, just fantastic. And really, to be honest with you, I couldn't think of a more deserving player to go into the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, and that's Ichiro Suzuki. And I'm looking forward to seeing his Hall of Fame speech coming up this summer, July or August in Cooperstown.
Yeah, absolutely. I think two other players who got in, CC Sabathia, truly deserving. Probably one of the maybe last starting pitchers who will probably likely win 250 games or more on his own. Billy Wagner was a terrific closer back in the day, really deserving. It's a funny story because, he broke his right arm, and a friend of his, a neighborhood friend, taught him how to throw left hand, and then the rest is history. Himself really got a, blazing fastball, one of the dominant closers in the 90s and the 2000s, truly deserving. Will be very interesting to see, what the class holds moving forward, because there aren't too many players. Carlos Beltran is the one that's probably next to the closest. He got 70% of the votes. Hopefully, should be able to get in next year. I don't think the guys who did the PEDs and steroids are obviously completely out of the completely out of it. I don't know who else is eligible for 2026 at this point. The next 6 or 5 or 6 players who are eligible. It's going to be very, very interesting. Who else is available moving forward? Manny Ramirez obviously is the last guy on the ballot. Again, this is a guy with multiple PED violations. It's unfortunate that's going to change. So 2026, it's going to be interesting what happens with him. Maybe he might be the only guy who gets in, and that might be was there any other year that nobody was elected?
Yeah, there was a 1 year which no one got in. I can't remember which year it was, but it was that was also a controversial year in which everyone was talking about taking the voting away from the baseball writers. But it was just I remember I can't remember what year it was, Stephen, but everyone was really angry about the voting that year. They said, hey, there's got to be at least somebody deserving to get in. So. But in any event, I think the baseball writers got it right. I'm glad that Billy Wagner got in. He's if you saw the video of that Major League Baseball posted of the phone call that came to him, you really saw how much it meant to him to get to the Hall of Fame. He got the phone call and he immediately started crying. His wife was there, so I'm very happy to see him get in. And CC Sabathia, truly a character, a guy who pitched very well. For multiple teams, including the Yankees. Sabathia was just one of those guys. I also pitched for Cleveland as well during the heyday of the Cleveland of when they were called the Indians. I got to say that Sabathia was one of those guys that you just feared every time you saw him pitch out there. So I'm happy to see him get in as well. So it's going to be a fun summer. And also we'll find out other people who will get in, like broadcasters and writers and those who contributors to the game as well. So it's going to be an interesting summer in Cooperstown when the Hall of Fame class is unveiled and the speeches are coming up. So we look forward to that.
And then finally, we're going to wrap it up with today, probably be what it was known as a 5-year anniversary of Kobe Bryant's death. And it's hard to believe it's already been 5 years, Ken.
Yeah, he and his daughter. Everybody remembers where they were. I was working at the Apple store at the time. It was a Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. It's also been an episode of Air Disasters, which is seen on the Smithsonian Channel. The fact is that if you remember the story, his daughter, and a bunch of other girl basketball players were heading to a game. He decided to go in a helicopter. And unfortunately, the helicopter ran into some foggy weather in Los Angeles, and the pilot unfortunately got disoriented and crashed, and killing everybody on board. It was just a really horrific story. And everyone knew the fact that Kobe, who is the coach of his daughter's basketball team, it was just a really sad story to see, because Kobe was just getting into the prime of life of his retirement. Who knows what he could have done? And we we all saw the funeral afterwards and the memorial service in the Staples Center, and of course Michael Jordan crying. Yeah, it was just one of those really sad situations there, Stephen, because of the impact that Kobe Bryant had on the NBA, and had how he was so reverential of the history. He came in as a high schooler, 18-year-old. A very kind of a Renaissance guy too, because he spoke multiple languages, because his father, Jelly Bean Bryant, was also played in Europe as well. So he spoke
Italy, yeah, absolutely.
And he also played soccer too. He was a very big soccer fan. So it's very unfortunate. And you know, as you mentioned, I can't believe it's been 5 years, Stephen. Kobe Bryant, well loved, and you still see every once in a while. NBA TV will show during the offseason some of his games, like when he scored 80 points, his retirement game, his last game, which is called by Mike Tirico on ESPN. So, yeah, it's unbelievable that it's been 5 years since he's been gone. It just seems like it's yesterday.
I'm going to play a clip from the ABC 7 in Los Angeles the day he passed, and take a listen.
It is news that for all of us is nearly incomprehensible. Laker legend Kobe Bryant is dead after his helicopter crashed in the Calabasas Hills earlier today. Kobe and his 13-year-old daughter Gianna were among 9 people heading to a travel basketball game when that helicopter went down.
Please join us in a moment of silence for Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace, Mamba.
I lost a little brother. I could never imagine nothing like this.
We're all grieving. We're all hurt. We're all heartbroken.
Things are never perfect, but through love, you continue to persevere. And then through that storm, the sun emerges. And inevitably, another storm comes. And guess what? You ride that one out too. So I think love is a certain determination, persistence to go through the good times and the bad times with the someone or something that you truly love.
Fans will come up to me and she'll be standing next to me and be like, hey, you gotta have a boy. You and V gotta have a boy. You have somebody carry on the tradition, the legacy. She's like, oh, I got this. The coolest thing is that my kids actually saw me play like I used to play. You know what I mean? It was like whoa, Dad. I said, yeah, I used to do this pretty often. They were like, really? Like, dude, YouTube it.
Yeah, you can see the people who have passed away, including John Altobelli, who was a former baseball coach as well. His wife died, and his daughter was also on the plane, also on the helicopter as well, and also a group of girls who are going to be playing in that basketball game that Kobe Bryant was going to coach in. So very sad. Can't believe it's been 5 years, Stephen. And again, I think everybody remembers where they were when he passed away. Oh, also going to mention here that let me just show you that are of the new channel I've rebranded the channel, so this is what it's going to look like. So this is what it's going to look like. It's called Ken Fang Sports Channel, but I also put down mostly sports and media. It's also the home of the AA team live streams featuring Stephen Nagishi and Ken Fang. So you can see our archives are here. You can see especially these are our live videos that you have here.
Okay. Looks
also
nice.
the home, and it includes I'll put every once in a while some stuff here from our past videos, our past shows. I do have some archived stuff from sports media here, but it's going to be mostly our videos. And as you see here, our past interviews, our past live streams. I have put like a BBC Wimbledon montage over there, but as you can see, it's all going to be based on our stuff. It's called Ken Fang's. I put the old sports channel logo there because it's a sports channel, but I think it's great, and I'm looking forward to hopefully that you can subscribe, and hopefully you'll be able to see everything. It's a really good. It needed a branding. It needed a rebranding. It was really boring. So the other day, I did that change of it. So that's what it's going to look like. So, but you can still find it at youtube.com/fangsbite. So that's the way you can find it.
Well, congratulations. Thanks for the rebranding, and really appreciate it. I hope that many people will subscribe to our channel. We're definitely going to continue with our live stream. I'll continue to focus on doing the Bears theme one with my friend Rashab Shakiri, among others as well. So very, very interesting to see where we go from here. Thank you for your help, Ken. And once again, thanks for joining us tonight. 209 people watching us on our live stream. Make sure to follow us on our X and the YouTube channel that you just saw down there, youtube.com/@fangsbites as well. So thanks for joining us.
Bills just took the lead, by the way, over Kansas City. They just ran in from the I don't know if Josh Allen.
The fourth and goal, yeah. James Cook
ran it in. Yeah.
Just scored, barely managed to reaches out the ball, crosses the goal line. Yeah, they're about to go for two to try and make it a 24-21 lead late in the third quarter.
His knee was down. Yeah, actually, they're going to call it a touchdown. Looked like his knee was down at the same time when he outstretched.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like it that way.
Yep. So right now, Buffalo leads. We'll stay on the. We'll stay right now to see if he actually is successful. Josh Allen going back to pass. He fumbles the ball. And again, another 2-point try. That's a second 2-point try that has been unsuccessful. But Buffalo has taken the lead over Kansas City 22-21. 2:56 left to go in the third quarter. We're going to let you all enjoy the rest of the game. Thank you to the 209 people who joined us tonight to watch it and took your time. We hope that we are a second screen to you watching the AFC Championship as well.
Thank you, guys, and we look forward to joining you next week when we know who will be playing in the Super Bowl, at least from the AFC side, and we'll kind of get into the preview and then other stuff that comes out of the way. Enjoy your Sunday, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the Double A Team. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.